Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today I want to talk a little bit about how we deal with the pressure and the stress of going through this situation. We're going to go through a bunch of different scenarios and different issues as we're going through this. Some of it's going to pertain to us and be directly related to attacks and stuff towards us. And then what it's going to do is it's going to transition into stuff against our children. And all of these are really difficult to deal with and very difficult to process. And you're going to go through different stages of acceptance and dealing with it. One of the big ones you're going to go through is just anger. You are probably going to deal with a tremendous amount of anger and frustration because you're in this situation, because you're having to deal with this situation, because you feel trapped, because no matter what you do, you can't seem to get the other person to change what they're doing. And then ultimately, you're going to be frustrated and angry because your kids are enduring a lot of the same behavior and emotional abuse that you dealt with when you were with your ex. The issue with that is anger, although it does have a purpose, it really doesn't help you when you're trying to deal with this. And the reason is because it clouds your judgment and it clouds your thinking. And instead of thinking rationally about what's going on and having like a disconnected approach to dealing with it, which is really hard to do, you get stuck in the emotional response because you're just so frustrated and just so angry about what is going on. I mean, you have to go through that, right? You can't just turn that off and ignore it and have it not impact you. You're gonna have to go through that. And until you can make your peace with it, you're really limited in how you can progress, because that anger and that frustration is going to cloud everything that you do. We've talked before about the narcissistic fog. This is almost like the anger fog. You just can't seem to get past your frustration about what's going on and how you're having to deal with it. Now, a big way this manifests itself after we've dealt with our part of it is the issues with our kids, because our kids are going to be they're going to be used against us. They're going to triangulation is going to happen between us and our children, and our children are going to be struggling with trying to figure out their own way through all of this. The biggest problem with this is, it's not necessarily, it's a problem, it's a roadblock for us, but it's a tremendous hurdle for our kids, is that they want to love both parents. It doesn't matter what the other parent is doing. And you're going to you're going to experience these conversations where your child gets it, where they're being hurt emotionally by the other parent. And you're going to think that they're going to have a realization of it. And then a couple of days later, or maybe even a day later, they will revert back to where they don't even remember it. And the problem is any crumb that the ex throws their way, they're going to gobble up like it is the best morsel ever. One thing you have to remember is we went through the same thing. When we were with the person, we fell into the same trap. We've escaped, I guess you could say that, but our children can't, right? They're stuck, and they're still a good source of supply for the ex. So until they get much older and probably start pushing back, or their value, quote unquote, to the ex diminishes, things are just going to maintain in the same state. So that leaves us in the unfortunate position of picking up the pieces and trying to mitigate the damage that the ex does and be there for our kids and try to help them, but help them in a constructive way where basically we're trying to counteract. We're like the antidote for the abusive ex. The problem with that is we can't come out and we can't just say those things, right? So we have to do it with actions. And the problem with that is it makes it harder and it makes it slower. And the other problem with that is, as our kids understand that they can count on us and they can trust us, they're going to push us harder because they know they can, right? Part of the issue is that when a child has, and this is from my experience, some reading, and just some anecdotal experience, when your kid knows that if they push back with the other parent, that the attention, there's going to be a negative consequence, different than the consequence that happens with us. They'll get to the point where they trust us and they know that we're not going to leave them, or we're going to abandon them, or any of those type of things. So it actually makes it hard. It makes it harder for us because they push harder against us. And then it will be really frustrating because you'll see that it'll appear as though the other parent is getting away with murder. That no matter what happens, that your kids won't hold them accountable. But you have to think about it in the context of this environment and this relationship. And what I mean by that is, we all know that if you push a narcissist too far, they will rage against their target, right? Well, in this situation, the target is our kids, right? So they know that. They're not, everyone's naive to the world, but they understand the environment they're in, and they know what they can or cannot do with the ex, okay? But they do know what they can get away with you. Now, so it makes it really tough. I mean, you will probably experience a situation where you'll be, I wouldn't say struggling is a better word. You'll be struggling with your child to make take positive steps forward. And then they'll talk to you, or you'll see interactions with the other parent that they are not interacting with them the same way they're interacting with you. And like I said, it's basically because the cost is too high. Now, I'm not saying that means that we need to go through and start acting emotional and start basically setting up the situation where they feel they need to do the same thing. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we're in a really difficult situation. We have to prepare ourselves for it. See, no one told me, right? So I went through these things where I would have these experiences, and then it hurt. It was really painful because it felt like a rejection from your kids. And when you're fighting with your ex to try to deal with this stuff, and then you have your kids basically, I don't know if citing is the right word, but treating the situation differently, you can take it as a rejection. And it's tough. I mean, and it can manifest itself in all kinds of different ways. It can manifest itself to where when your kids are with you, they're constantly trying to get with and check on the ex to see how they're doing, whatever. And it can be really frustrating because conversely what happens is when they're with the other parent, they're not connecting with you. They're not answering any texts or emails or phone calls or whatever that you're trying to do with them. And you feel, it can feel hurtful because, you're not looking at it in the big picture. You're looking at it in the absolute view of that particular moment. And it appears that they don't care about you and they do care about the other parent. And that's not the case, right? As you spend more time with your kids, or if you take a step back and you look at it, you know that they care about you. Primarily, you're going to see this with the way they interact with you when they're with you, okay? And that's the thing. You got to focus on that and not get wrapped up into the differences between when they're going between the different houses. And primarily that's because it's a different environment. They are living the same emotional nightmare that you lived when you were there, right? And they're trying to navigate that the same way we tried to navigate it, but they have less of an escape than we do. Their escape now is when they come to your house and they have, whatever that visitation is, if it's every other weekend or it's 50-50 or whatever it is. And you have to focus on that time. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I know a lot of you guys out there are in the beginning stages of this, and a lot of these things are things that are going to come up. And if you're not thinking about them, you won't think about them, right? A lot of this stuff, it won't even come up on your radar until it happens to you. And then you're standing there with, basically feeling like you got sucker punched trying to deal with the emotions. And so I'll wrap this up, but what I would ask you to think about is just just remember that they are involved in a really difficult situation, and they're right in the middle of it. And the best gift that you can give them and yourself is to just be that rock, that stability for them, where they feel safe, where they feel secure, where the chaos isn't all around them. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. If you have some things you want to add to this, please leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button. If you hit the little bell, it'll also give you notification when new videos come out. And I will talk to you guys on the next video. So take care. Bye.